Memento Mori. You're walking through an ancient Roman marketplace, the cobblestones worn smooth by countless feet that have long since turned to dust. The air carries the scent of spices and bread, voices haggling over pottery and cloth, children laughing as they chase each other between the stalls. Behind a victorious general returning from conquest, a slave whispers the same three words that have echoed through centuries. Remember, you will die. How strange that the reminder of life's end might be the very thing that awakens us to its beauty. Here lies one of humanity's most profound paradoxes, that thinking about death can make us more alive. Memento Mori, remember you will die, seems like it should fill us with dread, shadow our days with melancholy, make every moment feel heavy with impending loss. Yet the ancient Stoics understood something counterintuitive about this practice. They discovered that holding death gently in awareness doesn't diminish life, but illuminates it, like holding a candle in a dark room suddenly reveals all the treasures that were always there. On one hand, you might think that contemplating mortality would paralyze you with fear. Death represents the ultimate unknown, the end of everything familiar, the dissolution of the self you've spent a lifetime building. It's natural to want to look away, to busily distract yourself with plans and projects that stretch endlessly into an imagined future. You scroll through your phone, make lists of goals for next year, worry about things that might happen decades from now, as if keeping your mind occupied with tomorrows could somehow outrun the fundamental truth of impermanence. On the other hand, when you truly accept the reality of death, not as a morbid obsession, but as a simple fact, something unexpected happens. The weight of trivial worries begins to lift. The argument you had yesterday seems less important. The approval you were seeking feels less urgent. You begin to notice the extraordinary ordinariness of being alive right now. The way light falls through your window, the warmth of a cup in your hands, the simple miracle of breathing without thinking about it. Consider how death gives shape to life, the way silence gives meaning to music. Without the spaces between notes, melody becomes noise. Without the awareness of ending, experiences lose their preciousness. You've probably felt this during moments of transition, the last day of a vacation, a friend moving away, the final pages of a beloved book. Knowing something will end doesn't ruin it. It makes you pay attention in a way you might not otherwise. The Stoics understood that carrying this awareness gently through ordinary days could transform them into something more vivid, more present, more real. Think about how you've lived through this paradox without realizing it. Remember a time when you were truly afraid, perhaps a close call while driving, or waiting for medical test results, or saying goodbye to someone you loved. In those moments, didn't colors seem brighter afterward? Didn't simple pleasures feel more precious? The taste of your morning coffee, the sound of your child's laughter, the feeling of solid ground beneath your feet, all suddenly rich with significance you'd forgotten they carried. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his private journal that would become the Meditations, returned again and again to this theme. He wasn't a morbid man dwelling in darkness, but an emperor trying to stay awake to what mattered. He reminded himself that the people he saw in the marketplace, the senators in his court, even his own beloved wife and children, were all temporary arrangements of atoms that would one day return to the elements. Rather than making him cold or detached, this perspective filled him with a kind of tender urgency to love well while he could. You might wonder if thinking about death makes life feel meaningless. If nothing lasts, why does anything matter? But the Stoics discovered the opposite. It's precisely because life is limited that it becomes precious. A diamond is valuable partly because it's rare. Water becomes precious in the desert because it's scarce. Your life, your relationships, your capacity for kindness and wonder and love, these matter tremendously because they won't last forever. The temporary nature of things doesn't diminish their value. It's what gives them their poignancy, their weight, their ability to move you. This awareness changes how you hold your experiences. Instead of grasping desperately at happiness, trying to make moments last forever, you can receive them like gifts that you're borrowing for a while. The sunset doesn't belong to you, but you can witness it fully. Your loved ones aren't possessions, but companions on a journey you're all taking together. Even your own thoughts and feelings become less solid, less permanent, less worthy of fierce attachment when you remember that the mind thinking them is temporary too. The practice of memento mori isn't about becoming morbid or depressed. It's about developing what you might call existential perspective, the ability to zoom out just enough to see your current worries and desires in the context of the larger mystery of being alive at all. That difficult conversation you're avoiding, that creative project you keep putting off, that person you keep meaning to call. When you remember that your time for these things is limited, what seemed overwhelming often becomes simply important. What seemed impossible often becomes just difficult. What seemed too risky often becomes too precious to ignore. You begin to understand that the fear of death and the fear of life are often the same fear wearing different masks. When you're truly afraid of dying, you might also be afraid of living fully, afraid of loving deeply because you'll lose what you love, afraid of creating because what you make will fade, afraid of being vulnerable because your heart will one day stop beating. But Memento Mori offers a different way forward. It suggests that the very fact of impermanence is what makes courage possible, what makes love worthwhile, what makes this moment irreplaceably precious. Perhaps the deepest teaching of Memento Mori is that death isn't the opposite of life, but its silent partner, the darkness that makes light visible, the ending that gives shape to the story. When you stop fighting this truth and start dancing with it gently, you might find that you've never felt more alive. The world doesn't become less beautiful when you remember it won't last forever. It becomes beautiful in a way that makes your chest tight with gratitude for having witnessed it at all. Tonight, as you settle into sleep, that small daily rehearsal for the bigger rest that awaits us all, you might let this awareness rest gently in your awareness, not as a burden or a source of anxiety, but as a reminder that you're participating in something extraordinary and temporary and worthy of your full attention while you're here. It's not about solving the mystery of mortality or making peace with the unknown. It's about noticing that you're alive right now, in this moment, breathing and thinking and capable of wonder for just a little while longer.